of course, we have Tunde Kolawole, who will join the conversation this morning via phone, and Kofi Bartels, joins me right here on set. It's good to have you join me.
Thank you, Mercy. And good morning to you, Mr. Kolawole. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, my brother. Thanks for having me.
All right, then let's take a look at the leadership newspaper. That's what we start off with this morning. Of course, our focus and attention would be on the big stories. Quite interesting for the leadership in breach of Electoral Act. INEC shields political parties over unaudited accounts. That's how, the leadership captions it. Atiku absent as Obi Kwankwaso Abiola face Nigerians at, the debate that was organized happened yesterday. And a lot transpired. Private sector operators decry incessant summons by NAS. Well, some people would say that you have the arm of government who's carrying out her legislative function or oversight function, however you want to look at it. Nigeria's insecurity requires holistic approach, says AGOA policy. Another caption here says, Ghanaian protesters demand Akufo-Addo's resignation over economic crisis. This is really interesting. Of course, it's not the first time you hear about, protests across different parts of the world. In Nigeria, I think once upon a time we've had Nigerians asking that the president resign. But, whether or not he resigns is also another issue. But fingers across, we see how all of this develops, in Ghana. Students warn against another ASU strike as union meets today. Okay, that's because they were paid half salaries. But that's the much we can take this morning on the leadership.
Quickly over to the Nation. Interesting stories on the front page. Another governor threatens to quit Atiku campaign. Right after that, Bala Mohammed, PDP presidential candidate, working against my re-election. Wike Makinde others to sustain opposition against ex-VP or Tom Blas Atiku. They had a meeting, I think, in Makodi yesterday. Can Atiku take another governor leaving his campaign? I don't know if he can take that or if he can stand that, survive that. COP27, Buhari world leaders tackle climate change. Dollar scarcity worsening, petrol supply, say marketers. JAMB, only CBT centers with laptops will be accredited. Leave judiciary out of your woes. This is coming from the Ocean APC to the People's Democratic Party. Electricity generation sheds 410.80 megawatts. No plan to lay off workers in Kwara. Details on page 12 of the Nation. 2 Pakistanis held for cocaine skunk trafficking. Skunk is a kind of marijuana, if I'm not mistaken. Messi, don't ask me how I know.
How do you?
As a journalist, you're meant to know something about everything.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yes. CBN's digital currency yet to gain traction. A court will decide ASU's withheld salaries, says Ngige. So look forward to that showdown in the courts. So stories on the front page of the Nation.
All right, then let's quickly take a look at the Punch newspaper this morning. Presidential town hall meeting, economy, security dominant as Atiku Tinubu skip debate. Obi Kwankwaso Okoa, Kola Abiola, proffer solution. Protest erupts over PDP APC presidential candidate's absence. Tinubu had fixed engagement with the Mina farmers before invitation. PCC is quoted to say, of course, the presidential campaign council. Quite interesting. Forex crisis. Trapped funds hit $567 million as federal government meets airlines. That's going to be so much, especially if you're going to be dealing with the other parallel, market. Ministry, Emirates negotiate flight resumption. CBN may opt for part payment. Minister's aid. Could it really be that we don't have, resources to pay? What's really the issue with all of this? Half salary, ASU ESCO meets lecturers small sit at home. You also have the Mori board. Ajakuta Steel spends 29 billion naira on personnel. Really? And 19 died as Tanzania plane plunges into lake. Very unfortunate one. There's also a picture to that effect. ISWAP attacks claimed 15,111 so far. Think tank. PDP crisis won't stop Atiku's victory. And you also have the FRSCS backs officer who injured pregnant woman. Oh no. This is some of the headlines you find this morning on the Punch newspaper.
And finally, we go to this day. Some interesting headlines on the front page of that paper. Of course, the family, the ones who, the group of sister station, let me say, hosted the presidential town hall series. First in that series, talking about a rise. So it's no surprise that they're leading with that story, with the pictures of the 4 presidential candidates invited. One notable face missing. Of course, some of the papers has given a reason. But the lead story on the front page of this day, at Arise Presidential Town Hall Series, candidates lay out agendas. The writers to that, Kwankwaso, military personnel grossly inadequate. Obi will ensure prudent management of resources. Atiku, if Nigeria is working for everybody, no one will want out. And this should be an emotional one. Abiola Buhari's underutilization of NSA's office, escalated insecurity. Those are the writers to that story. More from this day. Kenyatta, no government can address all Nigeria's problems. Tinubu, Atiku jittery. He knows how to win the 2023 presidential poll. And Otedola Mac's 60th birthday in style. Some stories on the front page of this day. Let's quickly go over to you, Tunde Kolawole, for analysis on this. I'd like to start with the leadership newspaper this morning, which has gone into some very good, I won't call it investigative, but media advocacy, if you want to call that. Going as far as asking INEC for access to the parties, political parties' audited reports, using the Freedom of Information Act, but they say INEC has refused them access. This leadership newspaper, despite 2 official letters on October 18 and November 2, 2022, they say the commission has failed to publish the audited accounts of the parties in at least in the last 6 years. And they refused to, release the audited reports from 1999 to 2016. They said the audit for 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021 annual accounts is ongoing by professional audit from firms appointed by INEC, etc. And finally, the fourth thing they're saying there, CSOs want INEC to sanction defaulting parties. And they say any party that can't file financial reports should not canvass votes in 2023. Over to you, Tunde Kolawole.
Well, honestly speaking, it is shocking to me that people will make file an application to have access to the audit reports of the political party. And even they also even do for that of INEC under our law, especially under the Freedom of Information law, and then the Financial Regulations law, and then also the Constitution, which talks about accountability and transparency and all that. Even if the Freedom of Information is not there, any Nigerians using the mandamus instrument can ask any government official, any government institution to provide him or her whatever information he requires, either for personal purposes or for official purposes. Because you and I do know that the money that INEC spends, the money that the political parties spend, one way or the other, are derivable from the Nigerian people. And the bulk of it even coming from the taxpayers. So if you've been charging the responsibility of managing the taxpayers' money, and any of those taxpayers say, look, I want to see the taxes I have been paying, the revenues that have been generated either locally or internationally, I want to know if it is spent. There is no government institution under the Nigerian law that can deny that kind of an organization or an individual access to such information. In fact, in my humble opinion, it is a criminal offense. It is an attempt to hide the corruption that are taking place in some of these places. And let me also say this without equivocation. Too many times I have heard Even the EFCC, the ICT say, and then the Office of the General would say, security votes, they don't audit it. They don't bother with security votes and all that. And about the entire without number. Under what Nigerian laws, have you found that security votes are not amenable to auditing? You can't audit the security votes. And it is under that security vote that you find that most of the governors, most of the local government chairmen, the president, the minister, the senator, the vice president, are losing the Nigerian treasury. All that is required that when you audit some of these sensitive experiments, you may not make it a general thing. You could be under some restricted access and control. And that is why in government you find that they will say certain documents are classified. But with me, there is nothing secret, there should be nothing to be classified. With regard to the spending of the political party and even INEC itself, I will appeal or urge the non-governmental organization that has requested for this information, which INEC and the political parties are not disposed to making available to them, not to waste any time at all to go to court, to approach the court, to compare both INEC and all the political parties, to read the audit report that has been made since 1999 that will return to this democracy. I have said it time without number. Democracy will not go in this country until we make the political parties self-accounting, so that there is no godfather anywhere that is bankrolling them. In the Second Republic, what usually happens, you can't carry members of the political party on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. There's a percentage of money that you pay to the account of the party. And all the public office holders, those of them who are senators, who are governors and all that, a percentage of their salary is deducted from source and remitted to the account of the political party to manage those political parties. If we have had that issue in the past, why have we not gone on it? Why is it only the godfathers who steal security votes as governors, as ministers, as senators and all that are now the one bankrolling the party? And also very dubious businessmen all over the place who will bankroll and ensure that it is only certain person that can get to political office. And when they get to political office, they begin to award contracts to them. They begin to sell public properties to them. That this is even happening under the APC. Another party who came into power under the mantra of anti-corruption. It is sad, it is comical, it is unacceptable. It is a thing that we as Nigerians must contest and challenge and compel them to do the right thing. If we have to grow this democracy, if this democracy is going to be sustainable, if this democracy is not going to collapse under the heavy weight, under the burden of the huge resources that it is carrying.
Let's quickly talk about what happened yesterday, town hall meeting, and the fact that, there was an invitation that was put out to the major front runners for the elections come 2023. We saw those who were not, present, and we also saw the fact that some Nigerians or those who were in attendance were asking the vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Ifeanyi, to step down and not speak because he's not the presidential candidate. I'd like to share your thoughts, on that town hall meeting and, some of the outcome.
Well, let me say this very, very quickly. Honestly speaking, oratory, ability to talk smoothly, ordinarily it's not a prerequisite or any serious requirement to be a successful leader. It is merely a kind of addendum and an additional skill that is very, very useful. Take, for example, if you give the vice president a whole day to start talking and all that, you'll never be tired of listening to him. But for Mr. President, he talks very little. Now, we saw the usefulness of oratory when there was resistance in the Niger Delta. And then the incumbent vice president today was the one who was acting for the president. With his smooth talking and oratory and charisma, he went to the Niger Delta and doused the fire that was the inferno that was going to consume the Niger Delta at that period in time. And then part of the accusation against President Buhari is that he doesn't talk much. He doesn't interact with the Nigerian people. He doesn't communicate with them. He doesn't demonstrate charisma. So, oratory, ability to talk, ability to move people through speeches, debates, and whatever. It is very, very good, a skill to have. But it is not an qua non to good leadership. I have kept giving this example. Alaji Jakande talks very little, but you and I know that it's an action man. He's a fantastic administrator, one of the best we have had. People like Ibola is like the president of Shimbato. He will talk from day to, he could talk from morning till night and all that. But that didn't translate into the kind of success that people like Alaji Jakande had in Lagos. Now, also when you look at all the ancient laws of the land, whether it be the constitution, whether it be the INEC regulations, whether it be the criminal, the penal code, and what have you, there isn't any codification with regards to say, look, it is compulsory for you to participate in a debate before you can run for the presidency. But a good contestant who wants to market himself, who wants to sell himself, who always sees an opportunity for a debate, for a town hall meeting, to attempt to sell his candidature, to sell his program to the people, to endear himself to the people, to let the people know that he understands where the shoe is pinching them. So when you invite a presidential candidate running away from presidency, from debates and from town hall meetings and all that, the Nigerian people ought to raise an eyebrow. And in my humble opinion, in fact, they require to put such a presidential candidate in an inverted comma. And they should be very careful in voting for that kind of a presidential candidate. As regards the man who sent his vice presidential aspirant to the town hall meeting or whatever and all that, I also don't know a law that says you cannot, if you are busy somewhere, if you are occupied somewhere, or even if you are indisposed elsewise, that you cannot ask your deputy to go and represent you. In fact, part of the reason that the Constitution and the electoral says that you cannot run for either the governor without a deputy or for a president without a deputy or vice president is because the Constitution says there might be times in which maybe the president will be indisposed. There might be times in which the president will not be on guard, will have traveled out. There might be times when the governor will not be available to attend to certain things with regard to state matters, and so their deputy will step in. But in this instance, in which is becoming a regular occurrence, that when certain presidential candidates are invited to certain debates or certain town hall meetings and all that, they either send their presidential and vice president, they are running it to attend such a thing. When even in fact, and these people do know that they are on ground, and the matter that they are keen to go, have gone to attend to, is not as important as the debate and as the town hall meeting for which they have been invited. Then there should be a question mark. People should be very wary of that kind of candidate. It begins to show that these people have one thing or the other to hide. In fact, I would say it is on that platform that people will measure your intelligence quotient, how intelligent you are, how you are in grasp of whatever challenges that the country may be having. People like President Obama won the presidency based on his oratory. He merely went to address the Democratic Party's Congress convention at a forum, and after his speech, a lot of people listened to him and another. People like Oprah Winfrey, and they approached him and said, you yourself, you're a presidential candidate. Why don't you run for the presidency? The man said, look at me, former. They said, don't worry about that. We will find a way to raise the resources to run for the presidency of the United States of America. It was his mouth that got him the presidency of the United States of America. So when here you see presidential candidates, the bureaucratic presidential candidates running away from debate and from town hall meetings and all that, I would want to tell the Nigerian people, appeal to the Nigerian people, all the Nigerian people, to be wary of voting for such presidential candidates.
All right. Interesting one there. Let's go over to the Punch newspaper and take their look at their take on the situation with Nigeria's tertiary institutions, the universities, with the university lecturers under ASU, because now, of course, we have two unions, in meeting, said to be having a meeting, and they're mulling a seat at home over the so-called half salary. Of course, the federal government and the Minister of Labor standing on his ground, saying that there will be no salary for work not done. In other words, no work, no pay, sure in obedience to the labor laws. So let's take a take on that. But I want you to talk about this in the light of some new information that has come out, early this morning, saying that the federal government has begun the payment of 8 months salary backlog to the lecturers. And if you think I'm trying to confuse you, Tunde Kolawole, it's not the lecturers under ASU, but lecturers under CONWA, the Congress of Nigerian University Academics.
University teachers or something.
Yes. So I mean, it seems to be different strokes for different folks. Over to you.
Honestly speaking, I would thought that if we want peace in the university, we should not seek to break ASU. We should not seek to polarize ASU. The setting up of a parallel or a rival University Teachers Association is designed to break the rank of ASU. But you see, when you take into history the issue of labor unionism in Nigeria, that kind of divide and rule tactics has never worked. You will recollect that in the past, it was only the Nigerian Labour Congress that we have in this country. But I think it was only Obasanjo's regime that they thought that NLC was too powerful. And then they now set up the Nigerian National Union of Nigerian Congress or something in another parallel labor outfit. And then some other labor unions also sprang up. And as that solved the problem of industrial unrest in the country, as it incapacitated the NLC and then this Congress of Nigerian something from pulling their resources together when they do know or when they are facing the same challenges. The truth of the matter is, no matter how long or no matter how many labor unions you have, once they have a common interest, they will always unite to fight for those common interests against their so-called common enemy. In fact, the proliferation of labor union is going to have more adverse effects in the Nigerian university system. Look at what is happening now. You have the ASU, you have the non-technical people, NASU, you have some other auxiliary association in the university. As soon as ASU finishes its own industrial strike, the NASU people will also begin their own. And when the NASU people also stop their own, the other auxiliary labor unions in the university will also begin their own system. Because invariably, all of them go to the same market to buy goods and services. And they do know that inflation does not spare anybody, whether you are in NASU or you are in NASU or you are in Congress of University Teachers and all that. It is like cutting one's nose in order to spite it. The federal government is merely shooting itself in the leg with these parallel teachers and University Teachers Association that they've established. With regard to paying one of the union and then refusing to pay the other, that is likely to precipitate another round of industrial unrest. What today, the university teachers and their students, especially ASU, they are unanimous. There is a consensus among them, and they are supporting their teachers with regard to the struggle that they have embarked upon. If the parallel union that the federal government has set up feels that they can run the university without ASU, they are just fooling themselves. Their students will go to the classroom and stone them out of the classroom because they know that those university teachers are not representing the best interest of education in this country, the best interest of parents, the best interest of also the university students.
All right.
They are a traitor, and they will be treated like traitors as traitors have always been treated all over the world.
Okay.
They ASU people and let a sleeping dog life. There is nobody in this country who is not empathetic towards the challenges, what the ASU people are clamoring for. All of us do know that without education, quality education, the society cannot develop. Everybody talk about good democracy in America. They talk about infrastructural development. They talk about good hospitals and all that. All those good things that you see in most of the developed countries have their origins in the university. Research, because the universities are there to conduct research into societal problems. They also produce the leadership. And in whatever communities that the university or the polytechnic operates and all that, they always have a kind of relationship, interconnection, a way of helping those communities to really develop, achieve whatever goals, and help them solve the local problem that they do have within their net. They also help them to provide jobs. He also helped them to develop the youth in the environment.
All right,
and
Tunde
that.
Kolawole,
So
quickly.
our university today, can they, some of those items that I've mentioned, have they been able to live up to that responsibility? The answer is no, because they are poorly funded.
Tunde Kolawole, let's quickly, delve into another issue, but still on the
All
Punch
right.
newspaper this morning. It talks about, trap funds as it hits $567 million. Federal government has plans to meet with the airlines. But what's of, the concern is the fact that the CBN is opting to pay part payment. So my question here is, what exactly could be the issue? Is it that we don't have the resources? It's like you are owing someone and then you have to pay. What exactly is the issue?
Messi, you're asking me a rhetorical question. The truth of the matter is that, and which when some of us say it, they feel bitter, they feel palatable, they feel uncomfortable with it. They don't want to tell the Nigerian people the truth. The truth is that the country is simply bankrupt. There is no more money to meet its obligations, either internationally or locally. With foreign exchange, it is even worse. The mainstay of the Nigerian economy is this petroleum product that we sell in the international market, the crude oil, which brings the revenue that we generate. And of course, now that the young people in Nigeria are immigrating abroad and all that, those of them who have families at home, they remit some little money home to take care of their siblings here in Nigeria. But that is bitter. Now the challenge with the petroleum industry is that it is a rented economy, even without now total control over what happens in the petroleum sector. We depend on the foreign oil company to drill the oil and tell us the quantity that they have produced, and also to help us to market it in the international community. And they also buy those products at their own price, at their own rate. They dictate to us. And of course, too, you and I are aware of what is happening in the Niger Delta with regard to the petroleum sector that has compelled the state, the Nigerian government, to go and hire a non-state actor to be protecting the pipeline. When you do have the Navy, you do have the Air Force, you do have the PSS, you do have civil defense. When the civil defense are going to be set up, one of the arguments that was canvassed for setting them up was that when you have the civil defense, they will be solely responsible for protecting public infrastructure. But lo and behold, immediately they were set up and order, we started seeing some of them controlling traffic in the townships.
All right.
And also going to the motor parks and all that to get a bit of the action.
All right.
The responsibility for which they were set up, they abandoned it.
All right,
so
Tunde Kolawole,
the layers upon layers of security that we have in there have been unable to protect and give us the value that we require to get in the petroleum sector, so that we can begin to sell more oil and gas and hence boost the foreign exchange to be able to meet our obligations internationally. And this is the time we should be doing well in the petroleum sector and the area of gas.
Thank you, Tunde Kolawole. Thank you very much. We don't have too much time. Before we go, the Ghanaian economy has captured the attention of the world, especially with the currency being touted as the worst performing in the world, losing its value to the dollar by 40% at least. The leadership covers the recent protests in Accra with the headline, Ghanaian protesters demand Akufo-Addo's resignation over economic crisis. What are your thoughts on this? Maybe reminiscent of the Ghanaian economic crisis in the 80s?
Honestly speaking, I sympathize with President Akufo-Addo. He ran the first term and he's in the second term now. And up till now, nobody has alleged that Akufo-Addo is corrupt or that Akufo-Addo has been stealing money. And most of the people in that cabinet, there hasn't been any serious allegations of mismanagement of resources. The truth of the matter is that Ghana, like Nigeria, is a mono economy. They depend on cocoa and coffee. And those things no longer do well in the international market. How many people are buying cocoa? And then the cocoa that they even have too, the cocoa plantations are very old. Most of them were planted during the colonial era. The yield that is coming from that cocoa can no longer sustain the financial requirement, the infrastructural development the educational sector, water, power, energy, that the state is required to produce or to provide to the people in Ghana, employment, and others. Even though I'm aware that a little quantity of petroleum was found offshore Ghana, and they have started tapping into it. But when you look at the development in Ghana, the population is a resources that is available, you and I will know that the internally generated revenue and the revenue that is coming from abroad cannot sustain the yoke, the weight of the Ghanaian economy and the responsibility that the government will have towards its people. And that is almost prevalent all over Africa. I won't be surprised if sooner than later, the kind of crisis that Ghana is facing today breaks out in Nigeria. Let us also only hope that the Nigerian people again, or the people in government again, will not begin to lie and say that that kind of a crisis was organized by certain parties to overthrow their government. Because that is what they always say. You mismanage the economy, you destroy the people, you are stealing on a daily basis, you have just 6 months to leave office, you say you want to design the naira, you say you want to do turnaround maintenance for the petroleum, for the refinery, which is a turnaround maintenance that will last for 6 years after you have left office. When we do that within 6 months, turnaround maintenance can be done for all those refineries.
All right.
So this is a tragedy. Look at, I was watching television yesterday, come and see how the young African, black African, and then our children are perishing in the Atlantic Ocean. All in the process of running away from Africa, from the Middle East, to seek greener pasture in Europe and America and other. And then the people are not allowing them to pass over there again. In fact, they are throwing them into the water.
All right, Tunde, we need to go now. Well, we have to go. I was just, some time ago, just recently, some weeks back, we also had the president there talking about evil spirits being responsible for, I don't know if that was a joke or he really meant what he was saying, that's responsible for the fall of the city. And so, it took me aback, and I keep asking, what is wrong with Africa? And what's really wrong with our leaders? But of course, it's a good thing that you have actually pointed out. I mean, points that you have raised there, very, very valid ones as regards, why not just Ghana, but, some parts of Africa, or almost Africa, as a continent might just be going through the same thing. We do appreciate your thoughts.
Thank you so much.
All right, then.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's the size of it, Kofi. We have to go now. Arsenal did good yesterday.
Yeah. Sorry?
Arsenal did good yesterday.
Oh, well.
A little bit of a cherry.
Yes, indeed. A good way to spend the weekend, Mercy. We'll be right back. We'll have a first major conversation ahead. And of course, looking at, we have two topics in particular, looking at youth participation in our democracy. Stay with us.